The part that kept you attached was not steady love. It was the moment he became gentle right after you had started to feel foolish for staying. That is what made it so hard to see clearly. He could go dry for days. Short answers. No real question about you. No care in the way he spoke. You would read the same message twice, trying to decide if he was tired, busy, stressed, or just no longer interested. Then, just when you were close to admitting how bad it felt, he would soften. A warmer voice, a longer message, a small apology. Maybe he called you like nothing was wrong and said something that sounded close to the man you had been missing, and your whole body changed. The tightness in your chest let up. You stopped feeling so dramatic. You told yourself, "See, there is something here. He does care. I knew I was not imagining it." But look at what happened. His rare softness did not fix the way he had been treating you. It only made the pain feel temporary. It made the days of silence look like something you could survive if you just held on until he became kind again. That is a dangerous thing to build your heart around. Because when a man gives you just enough tenderness to calm the fear he created, you can start mistaking relief for proof. You are not relaxed because the relationship is solid. You are relaxed because the pressure finally dropped for a moment. And then you begin living for those moments. You stopped asking whether he was present enough and started waiting for the good side of him to come back. That is not love holding you steady. That is uncertainty training you to be grateful for peace that should not have been rare. You kept giving him one excuse, because the good moments felt too real to dismiss. You told yourself he was not always like that. And that sentence became the place where you hid from the rest of the truth. When he was cold, you remembered the night he held your hand a little longer. So you did not judge him by what he kept doing. You judged him by what he was able to do once in a while. That is how you talked yourself into staying calm when your stomach knew something was wrong. You would sit there after a dry reply, phone still in your hand, and tell yourself he had a lot going on. You would change your tone so you did not sound upset. You would type the honest question, then delete it, afraid the question would push him back into silence. And each time he gave you a warmer moment, your excuse felt stronger. You thought, if he can be this kind, then maybe the rest is not the real him. You kept telling yourself the coldness was stress and the silence was fear. But the part of him that hurt you was not less real just because another part of him could be tender. A man can have soft moments and still be unsafe for your heart. He can mean some of what he says and still not have enough steadiness to protect what he started. He can miss you at night and still disappear when you need something clear in daylight. That is the excuse you had to keep feeding. You were not only loving him, you were defending the rare version of him against the life he was actually giving you. And once you started defending him that hard, you had to stop listening to yourself. The real cost was not just that you missed him. It was that your life started bending around his rare kindness. You could be at work, trying to answer a simple email, and still feel half of your mind checking whether he had replied. You could be sitting with someone who cared about you, nodding like you were present, while your stomach was waiting for one line from him to decide if the day was safe again. They did not only make you stay, they made you organize yourself around the possibility that he might become soft again. You started saving your mood for him. If he was warm, you felt light. You could eat better. You could sleep easier. You could stop replaying every word. But if he went quiet again, the whole room changed. Nothing was clearly wrong, but nothing felt right either. And because the good moments were so strong, you paid for them with hours of doubt. You paid by acting normal when your face was tired. You paid by not saying what bothered you because you did not want to ruin the little peace you had. You paid by accepting an apology that did not come with different behavior. But a relationship that makes you feel alive only after making you feel unwanted is not steady ground. It keeps you alert. It teaches you to wait before you relax, to measure his tone, to watch for changes in his face, to feel grateful when he does the smallest thing he should have been doing without making you beg for it. This was no longer only about missing him. It was starting to run your day. And the hardest part is this: the moments you called love were also the moments that made you tolerate what was hurting you. You do not have to hate yourself for believing the soft parts. When he was gentle, it did not feel fake. When he spoke to you with patience, when he touched your face, when he let you feel close again, something in you settled. You were not inventing that feeling out of nothing. That is why this hurts in such a confusing way. And you wanted that to be true. You wanted to believe the kind part was the real part. You wanted to believe the distant part was the accident. So when your friend asked why you still looked tired, you said it was complicated. When someone noticed you were quieter, you changed the subject. Not because you had no pride, but because explaining it out loud would have made you hear how little you were receiving. There is no shame in wanting the good to mean something. The problem is not that you cared. The problem is that his softer moments kept asking you to forget how often you felt alone with him. His feelings may have been real in those moments. Care has to remain when the mood changes and the conversation gets uncomfortable. So let the good moments be what they were. Do not turn them into proof that the whole thing was safe. A few warm hours do not erase the many days when you had to carry the relationship alone. The next step is not to stop caring overnight. It is to stop letting one good moment rewrite everything that came before it. Because that is what kept happening. He would become soft again, and suddenly the cold days felt less important. One kind message made you question the week of distance. One warm evening made you believe the problem had passed. You looked at the best moment and used it to explain the whole relationship. That is where you can begin to change something. Before you let his next soft message decide what this connection means, look at the full pattern. Not only what he said last night. Look at how you felt during the days before it. Look at how often you had to guess. Look at what happened after the apology. Look at whether the warmth stayed when you needed a real conversation. You do not need a dramatic list against him. You only need an honest one for yourself. What did he give consistently? What did you keep waiting for? What changed, and what only became gentle for a moment? That is different from being bitter. It is different from pretending the good moments meant nothing. They may have meant something, but they did not mean enough to erase the way you kept living between closeness and doubt. A tender moment can be real and still not be the whole truth. So the next time he becomes warm again, let yourself feel it without making a decision from it. Do not rush to call it change. Let time show you whether it stays. Real change does not need one perfect night to prove itself. It becomes visible in the days that follow. And when you begin judging the relationship by the whole pattern instead of the sweetest moment, you give yourself something his rare tenderness never gave you: a clearer place to stand.